Hello, I'm Dr. Chris Brew with Vitality Chiropractic, and today we're going to talk about how we can create an extraordinary healthy life moving forward. Everything we're going to talk about today is only going to improve your health, and I hope to educate and motivate you today as well. Let's talk about the mind-body connection. This is one of my favorite things to talk about because I really truly believe that most of our health is dictated by what's going on up here. Dr. Bruce Lipton, he began studying this back in the 70s up in Stanford. And I took just a quick little snippet from his essay he wrote. He said, autosuggestion, or our personal beliefs, our self-talk, what we're thinking about every day, produces autotraumatic action directed toward any organ or portion of the body, thereby modifying bodily functions and exciting or relieving morbid conditions by mental process independently of external influence. So essentially what he's saying is that if we are thinking negatively about ourselves or even about other situations in our life, our brain is releasing chemicals that are actually creating harmful situations in our system, degrading our nervous system, and independent of anything happening externally. So we're creating our health by our thoughts, essentially. There's been many studies on stress and chronic pain, looking at low back pain, because so many people suffer from low back pain. And again, them seeing that there were not many precipitating factors. There were never really many physical stressors or traumas that created low back pain. And so that's part of how they began looking at that mind-body connection, and seeing a lot of pain is actually derived from the chemical processes going on from the brain. One of my mentors, heroes, is Dr. Joe Dispenza. And Joe is a chiropractor who's studied neurology extensively, and he was featured in the film What the Bleep Do We Know? And he's written several books. One of my favorites is Evolve Your Brain, and he talks about the mind-body connection. So he's carried on Dr. Lipton's work through the years. I want to read just a quick little snippet from his book here. It really explains the mind-body connection. He says, there is an emerging field of science called psychoneuroimmunology, meaning your thoughts are connected to your nervous system, which can impact the function of your immune system. That has demonstrated the connection between the mind and body. I can describe what I learned in these simplistic terms. Your every thought produces a biochemical reaction in the brain. The brain then releases chemical signals that are transmitted to the body, where they act as messengers of thought. The thoughts that produce the chemicals in the brain allow your body to feel exactly what you were thinking. So your every thought produces a chemical that is matched by a feeling in your body. So he said, essentially, when you're thinking happy, inspiring, and positive thoughts, your brain manufactures chemicals that make you feel joyful, inspired, and uplifted. So for example, imagine I'm thinking about a loved one walking down my hallway right now, approaching the office. And I'm thinking about them in anticipation and getting excited. Well, my brain, without even seeing them, begins manufacturing chemicals that are giving me this feeling of happiness and joy. So dopamine's being released. It's creating this sensation and this feeling. And he said, conversely, if you have hateful, angry, or self-deprecating thoughts, your brain produces chemicals called neuropeptides that the body responds to in a comparable way. So again, imagine I'm here in the office and I'm thinking about someone walking down the hall that maybe I'd gotten to an argument the day before, and perhaps I'm feeling anxious about that or worried or concerned. Well, my brain is dumping those chemicals into my body, and those chemicals are actually producing more harmful effects on the system. So Joe says, you feel hateful, angry, or unworthy, that your thoughts immediately become matter, that matter being the chemical. I encourage you all to take a look at this book, Evolve Your Brain. great ways to learn how to change your thought patterns. So in the film, What the Belief Do We Know, there was another researcher that was highlighted, Masaru Emoto from Japan, and he did some research as well. And he looked at water samples. He exposed one water sample to wonderful imagery, beautiful music, words like love, joy, and he froze that sample. And he exposed another sample to negativity, words like hatred, pictures of Hitler, white noise. And he took that water sample and froze it. And he looked at these water samples under the microscope to see if those energies had any impact on the water crystals. And what he found out was that those water crystals that were exposed to the more positive, joyful messages were perfectly formed crystals. Those crystals that were the samples that were exposed to more of the hatred, negative types of vibrational states, they were completely malformed crystals. So part of why he was taking a look at this is that if you recall back earlier in our discussion, we talked about our body is being made of about 2/3 of water, right? So if most of our body is made of water, we want to make sure that we are creating healthy cellular structure. And one of the best ways to do that, and again, this is staying in that white zone, is creating thought patterns that are joyful and uplifting in a more positive vibrational state. And if we're not, and this goes back to Dr. Lipton's work, is that if we're not doing that, our cellular state will break down and we will become unhealthy. And we're staying more in that red zone when we have that type of situation happening. So when Emoto found out these discoveries, he really thought about how he could potentially impact people's health more globally. And I don't know if you're aware of this, but the world is actually made of about 2/3 water. It's kind of interesting. Our bodies and the world have similar kind of composites. And he said he really felt that if all of us began thinking more joyful, inspiring, and positive thoughts, that potentially could impact the state of the world more. So he had a beautiful message overall with his research. So what does all of this mean? You know, it's talking about being in the white zone, this vitalistic paradigm of health, and doing all these things for our body. We're going to have a healthier quality of life. We're going to be more likely to prevent disease processes from being created in our system because we're being proactive. We're not just being reactionary. So at this point, I'm going to challenge you to take a look at all these different areas: your nervous system, nutrition, activity, rest, and what you're thinking about. And I want you to begin to set goals up for yourself and look at those areas and see where you need to work on things. The first challenge I'm going to give you is going to be a water challenge, because most people are walking around dehydrated. They're not feeling well. They're not hydrated. So I'm going to challenge you over the next week to start to work on getting to drinking half of your own body weight of ounces of water every day. And I want you to start it immediately. I need you to gradually work up to that. I want your kidneys to go into overload. So by the end of the week, I'm going to check in with you and make sure that you're doing that. As you know, I love to educate the community, our clients, and I want you to know I'm available to come out to any groups that you belong to, work, social groups, to speak and educate about health and wellness. That is absolutely one of the things I'm driven to do. So on the screen, you see this picture of Gene Wilder. Most of us have all seen the film Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, right? And I love to use Willie and Charlie as an example of this next thing I'm going to discuss. I was at a seminar, a chiropractic seminar, many, many years ago when I was first starting my practice. And there was a great doctor up on the stage speaking to several hundred of us. And he was getting a little angry with us. And he was talking about how the public doesn't know or understand what we do. And he stood up there and he said, "You guys, if they knew what we knew, they would do what we do." He said, "We need to educate the public on what we do as chiropractors, how we can help people live long, healthy lives." So he challenged every single one of us in that room, and he said, it is your responsibility as a doctor of chiropractic to educate people on what we do in health and wellness. So I stand here before you today because now you know what I know, and I'm going to challenge you to do what we do. So I'm going to encourage you to move forward and share all the things you've learned with everybody in your life today. And I think it's super important to pass knowledge on, because knowledge is power, and we can make better decisions with our health and wellness when we have that knowledge. So in your packet that you received, you're going to find a golden ticket, just like Charlie received from Gene Wilder in the film. That is a golden ticket for you to give to anyone you want to come here and visit me in the office for a health assessment. So choose wisely. There's only one golden ticket, right? So make sure that person's ready to make that change and get into the white zone.